it's like 3 minutes of people looking out into the desert, and that's all there really is. There's very little dialogue. There's very little dramatic editing. We just watch this figure go up from the distance, and it's really intense stuff.
Yes.
And
the shots of alleged crap floating in space. I suppose they do still. Once again, they have another place in the film in that they serve a thematic purpose. Say these films, these shots have a personal dimension to them. We see ships and quirky rotating space stations, food dispensers, stewardesses, and so on. They all illustrate just how far we've come from the ape men of the first act.
and to a spaceship.
Yeah, and exactly. And I suppose the journey from this journey from point A to point B, as phrased very dismissively by CM, it essentially pays tribute to what we've done within the film, or rather what we can hope to achieve in future. In that respect, the crap floating in space is actually very uplifting.
Yeah. And Confused Matthew went on about things like, you don't have to show us every step of the ship landing, which we'll believe it's landed. Now, I'm not saying there are a few points where I think, maybe it'd be edited a little better. I don't want to give the impression that I think these scenes are absolutely perfect, or that every once in a while they overstay their welcome. And I think the landing on the moon part is one of those. But I don't think they overstay their welcome, even close to how Confused Matthew feels about it.
Yeah.
And in the terms of the ship landing on the moon, I think you're right. It is. You gotta remember, this film was made a year before we actually landed on the moon. And as Stanley Kubrick's hopeful view of the future, he wanted to show us exactly what those kind of things would entail. I know that doesn't exactly age well now that we actually have landed on the moon and we kind of know how these things work.
But we haven't returned to the moon since the mid-70s. So I suppose it is still somewhat of an untouched world. Say, only about less than 50 people have actually seen the moon up close, and I'm sure a few. I don't mean to sound rude, but one of them is senile, and I'm a couple of them many of them. I suppose a couple of them may have passed away. I'm not sure. So, few people have been to the moon since then. I think I might edit that out. It might sound a bit disrespectful.
No, I understand what you're getting at. On a tangent on the moon endings, in comparison to scenes with crap floating in space, to people looking out in the desert in Lawrence of Arabia, or say scenes in Sergio Leone films, where people are kind of waiting for other people at railroad stations. There's a film concerning moon landings that is nothing but crap floating in space. It's a documentary from the late 80s called For All Mankind, where it's footage of all the they took all the known footage from all the moon landings, all those Apollo missions, and edited together to make it appear as if it's one long space flight. And they never identify any of the actual people involved. You see astronauts, but they never, that's Buzz Armstrong, and they never identify the astronauts. And all it is these kind of procedures as they go to the moon, land on the moon, and then come back.
Right.
Set to a few of the more poetic quotes some of the astronauts have made in audio interviews, but mostly to music. It's mostly scenes of these spaceships going through Earth and landing on the moon, and the astronauts on the moon, set to this music, and it's basically crap floating in space, the movie. It's 2001: Space Odyssey without Hal.
Yeah.
And that film for me is really, really good because it's really. I don't like to throw around the word visceral, but visceral. And I'm tempted to put down $25 to put it on Confused Matthew's requested review list,
Right.
To see what he feels about that, to see if he feels the same thing, because it is pretty much the same thing, only it's documentary footage as opposed to recreated footage on a studio. So my point is, there are people who put stock in these kind of things. There are people who think they're filmmakers, and there are film viewers, including myself, who think that scenes where quote-unquote nothing happens, there's actually a point to them. There's actually a reason to watch them. And it's on the level of mood and atmosphere and maybe symbolic meaning. And I just don't feel like it's crap floating in space.
Neither do I. That reminds me. Have you read any of Arthur C. Clarke's Rama novels?
I haven't read anything from Arthur C. Clarke. So.
That's right. Okay. Well, I've only read all of his work. I've only read the 2001 novel and various short stories of his. But we'll just see if I can find it. I might provide a screenshot of it when we post the review. The second novel in Arthur C. Clarke's Rama series was adapted into a video game called Rama. I believe it was released in 1996. I don't like it very much as far as adventure games go. Its plot is very slow to slow to emerge, and the characters aren't very well developed. But I wonder. I know this is a bit of a detour, but I wonder whether say Confused Matthew would have a grudge, so to speak, against other forms of media, such as the adventure game. Say, Rama and even Myst have long tracts of not so much doing nothing, but exploring a very passive exploration of an island that has had nothing happen on it or a space station that has had nothing happen on it for possibly hundreds of years. But Myst and Rama less so, still have extraordinary atmosphere and exquisite visuals.
Yeah. I can't speak for Confused Matthew, but that stuff can be engaging.
Yep.
I would like to point out that I don't believe that all quote-unquote crap floating through space scenes are good in all films. There are long, extensive shots where nothing happens can be done badly. They can, I don't want to come off as say that if a scene is long and nothing happens, then it's gold. I have seen movies where they try to imitate that kind of thing that 2001: A Space Odyssey or Lawrence of Arabia or Once Upon a Time in the West try to do, where quote-unquote nothing happens and fail miserably. Star Trek: The Motion Picture comes to mind. Star Trek: The Motionless Picture,
Ah.
and where it's where they got scenes of flying around the Starship Enterprise for 5 minutes and going through alien imagery for 5 minutes, and in the case of those films, that really doesn't work because it's excessive and
serves
there's
no
no real
purpose.
there's no real point to it.
Yeah.